space. It's a concept very dear to us on a professional and personal level. To share a little bit more about ourselves, I'm Italian, she's from Singapore. We started Roomorama, like she was saying. Roomorama is a one-stop shop for professionally managed short-term accommodations available all over the world. Maybe Tia can share a little bit more about the story, and how we got started.
So anyway, we were in New York. We were both working at Bloomberg at that time. This was about 4 years ago. And we were young, adventurous, but very broke. So, we loved to travel, but at the same time, couldn't, really, in our mid-20s, didn't want to camp out in dinky budget hotels or stay in dorm rooms anymore. So we said, hey, there must be thousands of apartments that are empty right now. How do we find them? How do we book them? How do we convince homeowners to open up their homes to us if we were willing to pay? So, at the same time, whenever we traveled, we were renting out our own space. We were sharing an apartment at that time. We were renting out our own space through online classifieds like Craigslist. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar. That proved very unreliable, cumbersome. Sometimes people would book but just not show up. People didn't want to pay us in advance because they thought we were scammers. Sometimes I had to collect a thick wad of cash from them below my office, and then I had to count it in front of them. I felt a bit like a drug dealer. so then we thought there must be a better way to do all of this. So it was really a passion for travel and frustration with the existing sort of lack of infrastructure that we created Roomorama.
And this is where everything began. This is our home office and Roomorama laboratory in the Lower East Side of New York City. What you see here is actually a bedroom that we created. We just created a wall here, and it's a very tiny bedroom. We just rent it out on a short-term basis. And the other space where I'm taking the picture from is actually our dining room / living room / kitchen / office. So we used to have a kitchen island just here. We used to put our laptops, work from here, lunchtime, take off everything, clean out the table, eat, and again, in the afternoon we would work there. So it was just very, very interesting because we were providing space, but at the same time we were dealing with lack of space.
So, the whole sort of, preface of Roomorama was to optimize space in the marketplace and bring about greater efficiency in a very fragmented space, pun intended. If any of you have tried looking for anything that's not a hotel, until recently, it has been very difficult to do it. You go onto the website, you go onto Google search, and you have to trawl through maybe dozens of sites, figure out how each one works, and then have no basis for an apples-to-apples comparison of all the different offerings. So really what we wanted to do was to sort of standardize all of this, streamline the process, make it very easy for people to find, compare, book, and then review any non-hotel accommodations. So, we really made it our mission to sort of democratize travel, because for us, we don't feel that there should be a huge compromise between fun and affordability. We believe in both, and so that's what we go about trying to do with what we do every day, is to make travel more accessible to everybody. So actually, there was supposed to be a little bit of an animation here. This is my idea, but we couldn't get it on this slide. But we started off with one apartment, so imagine one pin, and then it slowly, rolled out into more and more apartments as we forced our friends to list their places. We called people, told them to list their places. Very soon, we had hundreds of properties in New York, starting from only about 8, and now we have, 100,000 or more properties around the world.
And of course, we had a few challenges when we started this project. The first one, like you said before, persuade homeowners in New York and outside of New York to actually open up the space to a stranger, to rely on a system like Roomorama to handle their payments, to verify the legitimacy of the guests that we were bringing to their attention. And on the other end, to convince travelers to stay in a non-hotel, so apartment, villa, chalet, anything that would not resemble a hotel non-hotel accommodation. So we had to build trust, credibility, and reputation around Roomorama. That was the only way to get any legitimacy and to get the project started. And people liked it. They liked the concept of being like local, not to stay in a cookie cutter hotel room, and of course not to give up the comfort of home they were used to before going to any accommodation holding. What's interesting is that not only we are providing space, but we are providing accommodation with more space. So the type of accommodation that you can find in Roomorama very suitable for groups, small groups, and families as well. So that's something interesting about our guests. And this is another stat for you to validate our concept.
So dealing, working at Roomorama for day in and day out, really I guess we had a few findings about how people relate to space. One of which is, the first was, space is a commodity that can be exchanged. So I think we all have this preconceived notion that we hold space, and space is something that's very dear to us all, right? But what we realized very quickly after is that, if you put a price to it, anything can be exchanged, including space, including personal space. And we had created a marketplace to do exactly that. So it was a very interesting thing to see that, okay, someone values their space at $50 a night, and other values it at $500 a night, depending on what they had in there and how much they had put into or invested into sort of creating that space.
And what's interesting in our process is that we came across a new breed of travelers. Now imagine a group of 4 or 5 people going to New York before Roomorama was started. Back then there was really nothing available at a reasonable price, so you would have to pay probably $300 for each room, probably 2 rooms. It would be a cookie cutter space with no kitchen, with no living room. And now with Roomorama you can get an apartment for $20. You can share it with your family or with your friends. You can rely on a more homely type of feeling. Like I said before, you have a kitchen, you have a living room, you can invite people over. It's a real different experience, and of course it's more affordable for everyone.
So this sounds like a pretty obvious statement. The space that we create defines who we are, but we never found that more evident than when working at Roomorama, because with the hundreds and thousands of properties that we're listing, we actually get to see each of these properties, and we get to see spaces across different countries, different cultures. And every space and every sort of context is different. Just a quick example, this is an apartment my friends and I stayed at in Copenhagen. And everything they say about Scandinavian design is true. They're very good at taking small spaces and making them very minimal, uncluttered, but very chic. And then, of course, on the other hand, this is an apartment in China that you can rent. But this is, I guess, acceptable in their culture. So, at the risk of a bit of stereotyping here, I think it has been very interesting for us to sort of peek into other people's homes, to see what is acceptable in different cultures. For example, in Russia, tiger stripes sofas, completely cool.
Do you rent out part of their house, or do you rent the whole area?
We'll get to that in a second, but the question was, do they rent out a part of their house or the entire home? On Roomorama, 90% of our properties are completely private. Yeah.
And here is our new office here in Singapore. We just had a office warming party just a couple of days ago. I wish we could have invited one of you. We had a blast. A few interesting points about Roomorama. 80% of inventory is professionally managed. Here are some of the properties that you can find available on the Roomorama. And like she was saying before, 90% of the property are exclusive to guests.
So, sort of stating the obvious here, we are married. So we've been together for about 8 years. A large part of which was spent working together and living together. So we may have a few things to share about personal space as well. You know, and as with all good presentations, there are always quotes. So when I got this topic, I went to Google space quote. And this is what I found, and I thought it was quite appropriate because, you know, why would two people who fight so much still be together? And part of the reason, and a big part of the reason is that, you know, I think we make that distance bearable, or, you know, we find each other bearable with this distance between us.
So we have some guidelines for coexistence that we have created so that we don't kill each other in the process. The guidelines have been applied for the past few years, and we're still alive, we haven't killed each other, so I think they work, at least for us.
I mean, some of the guidelines include, you know, never talking about work on the weekends, you know, things like never use the phone at dinner time. I'm guilty of breaking that rule many times. Sometimes I'm WhatsApping, but I say, oh, it's work, it's work. The other thing is, you know, recognizing each person's area of strength and playing up to it. We're both very different individuals. He's Italian, obviously all the stereotypes of being Italian are true also. Singaporean stereotypes also true on my end. So very different work ethic, very different styles of getting things done. So just realizing that we're all different people, everyone does things at their own pace, at their own time, and learning to sort of deal with that and giving each other that room to sort of flourish. Giving each other breathing space. So I think, you know, the people who know us on a personal level will know that we are often seen separately at different places. And people are always like, wow, are they even married? But, you know, I think for us, we value that space. So on a Friday night, when we're apart, I think that it for us is a time for us to independently sort of grow and develop relationships outside of each other. And for us, that's sort of, I guess, important and critical to the sustenance of our relationship. So being professional at work, again, stating the obvious here, but really quite difficult to observe when you work with your other half. I think we spent a better half of our sort of first 2 years when we were working together, just kind of scaring everyone, all our teammates, making them feel extremely uncomfortable whenever we were shouting obscenities at each other, vulgarities, really making people a bit uncomfortable. But I think after a few years, we finally learned how to rein that in and practice a bit more professionalism at work. Now, we just limit our vulgarities to GChat or WhatsApp. But you know, in terms of all these things, I think whether you're a couple or not, it applies, you know, in any working relationship you have with other people. And seeing the pros of working together, always seeing the positives in each other, never letting each other get into a negative spiral about anything. I think that's very important, and it sort of goes back to the point of seeing each other's strengths. So always focusing on each other's strengths rather than nitpicking on the weaknesses.
She's never been so optimistic about it. That's it. Do you have any questions?
I'm interested to understand more about why you've chosen to position around professionally managed properties compared to like an Airbnb, which is, you know, probably a broader range of properties, and how important that whole guest experience or the customer experience is when you're not actually owning or running the properties. I come from a hotel management background, so I'm interested to understand what kind of quality assurances or how you see guest expectations and how you meet those.
So there are a few sort of questions in that question, but why we chose professionally managed, or to focus on professionally managed properties. First of all, reliability issues. Because, you know, our platform's open to anyone, so you can go ahead and list your property. Once it gets validated, you can get inquiries quite easily. The one thing that when we first started the business, we realized very quickly that people who weren't doing this professionally were cancelling on guests whenever they had personal obligations that sort of took them away from the property. Or for example, if they had a leak in the house, then the apartment would not be available for the guests. So by moving over to professionally managed properties, and these are guys who may have anywhere from 5 properties to 500 properties, it made it a bit better in the sense that if one property became unavailable, they had a few others in their portfolio that they could offer. So in that sense, we had a bit more of a guarantee for the customer experience. And in terms of the guest experience, because we're not there to ensure that we check them in and everything, that's what the whole feedback and review system is for. And I think people know when they come onto the site that this is not a hotel that they're booking. That's why there is that slight discount to the price. But I think we are always there to sort of guide them through in case they have any problems. And we also have a payment code system. So basically when you arrive, if the house is not as advertised or if it doesn't meet your expectations, you don't give the payment code to the host. We either help you find another property or we refund you completely. See, I like to help.
And in addition to that, we also realized that the professional managed properties are at a higher level of accuracy in terms of availability. So we realized that if we wanted to hotelify the experience and make the process as fast as possible, in our presentation we wanted to show you more about the future of Roomorama, but the goal for us is to make the process as instant as possible. By working with professionally managed properties, we're actually able to verify and guarantee the accuracy of the availability and make the process instant, as opposed to waiting for the host to confirm the availability and then make the booking.
Do you want to just shout it out?
Do you have any way of verifying that the properties are as advertised? Because that's always that question.
Sure, we do our due diligence. So we have a validation process. Anyone that lists with us doesn't go live immediately. They go into a queue where our QC team actually calls these hosts. They get utility bills, photos and all that stuff. And also we have a team that actually goes out to source these properties. And they know that our goal is to get mid-range to high-end properties. So if it's a dinky room, we typically won't validate it. Yeah, and of course we have that payment code system. So people who are offering properties that won't meet a certain standard, they won't get paid, or they won't get. They know that they're not going to be able to scam our customers.
And is your focus primarily Southeast Asia, or is it beyond?
It's global. We're here, and we moved here about 2 years ago for a variety of reasons. And yes, we want to expand our Asia footprint, but our network is global.
How do you screen guests?
How do we screen guests? Actually, we have fraud detection software. We have fraud detection software, and of course, if a few flags are raised, then we actually call people. So we call people and actually make sure that their number matches their country of origin that they say they're from. We check their credit card information. I know it sounds like we have a lot of information on you guys, but it's all necessary for our business because there's a lot of online fraud.
How do you manage the damages?
Most of our hosts will take a security deposit. So for example, we rent out our place in New York, and we're never there. But whenever we have people stay, we ask them to pay us a security deposit that we refund when they check out.
What are the legalities around renting your apartment or subletting in Singapore or elsewhere, a room or a whole?
So many. Where do we even start? So in terms of legality, it's all because this is such a new infant industry. There's a lot of gray area, and we are sort of in that gray area somewhat. But I think because we focus a lot more on the professionally managed properties, these are actually licensed businesses, so we have less of that problem.
But you say it's a gray area, so have you had problems?
So far, not really. So if we have had hosts ask us to take their properties off because they've had issues with their management or anything, we will do it. But that goes back to why we prefer to work with professionally managed properties.
First of all, loving your story. And I know you guys have moved from the US and back to Singapore. And can you talk a little bit about the cultural barriers, perhaps? There you go. Some cultural barriers that you may face moving a business which grew really quickly in the US and New York and all over the world compared to the much lower number of listings that you find in Asia.
We're facing more challenges here than we were in the US and Europe, both with regards to supply and demand. The market is much more mature in the US and Europe. Every single element of our site, every single metric we look at tell us so. But we also feel that there is a cultural change happening here in Asia. Just if you look at how mobility has changed in this region, now you can find a cheap ticket on Thai Airways or Asia travel to any destination for very little money. So now, the cheap accommodation, cheap transportation is available. People are demanding for affordable accommodation as well. It is true that the concept opening up your home to some stranger is a little bit odd in the Asia-Pacific region. And that's another reason why we prefer to work with professionally managed properties, and that's another reason why most of the properties that you find on Roomorama, especially those available in Asia, are exclusive to the guests. So there is really not much interaction between the guest and the host, because they like to have that exclusivity. And that applies also to the owners who open up the spaces to strangers or to foreigners. So it's definitely a very different element from a cultural standpoint. I think it's opening up. I think travel is global, and sooner or later, whatever you find available in the US and Europe in terms of demand will also present itself in Asia, and we just want to be there when that cultural trend is going to solidify. Any other questions?
How do you convince a professionally managed property person to get into your concept as opposed to doing a longer term lease, which is probably what they're more used to?
Well, for one, typically yields are a little bit higher when they could be almost double in some places if you do a short-term lease. Because on a long-term lease, you get a fixed amount every month. With a short-term lease, you can adjust based on seasonality, and you just make sure that you guarantee yourself a certain yield for every month. And as long as you can occupy your space for X amount of time every month, then you're set. So we help owners with that once in a while if they need that mindset change. But a lot of times we also work with people who have seen the opportunity. Like for example, when we started off, we started off with a guy in New York who had about 8 properties, and they were all long-term before. But he came across Roomorama when we first started. We had a meeting with him, and he said, "You know what? I'm going to try with my 8 properties on your site," and he did. And after the first year, I think he went and got 50 other properties and added them to our site because he saw that this was actually much more lucrative for him than to do long term. And the good thing about, you would think that, short term is going to wear and tear my apartment even more. Actually, not really, because people that when they come in short term, they're using the apartment to sleep because they're touring the city during the day or whatever it may be. They come back, they sit on the sofa for a few hours, and that's it. If there's a leak, they tell you immediately. If you have a long-term tenant, the place could be leaking for ages and you never know. So in a way, we find with our own apartment as well in New York that we get it maintained all the time because the cleaning lady's coming in after every turnover. We know any issue that comes up, so we actually prefer that.
I guess further to that question, who's your competition then? What were the professional people doing before? Is there other people doing short-term leases?
Yeah, a lot of them were marketing on their own websites. I think if you look at the space, a lot of them had maybe websites in French or German, Italian. So they're very localized businesses, catering to a domestic market mostly. So when we come in, we say, you know what, forget translating your website into like 20 other languages, we kind of help you with that. We are your marketing platform. We collect the funds for you, so it's very simple. All you need to worry about is managing the space. So basically that's what they use before. And some of them also use maybe hotel websites. And to be honest, using a hotel website, they can't compete because they're a very different business from a hotel. They can't turn over the places as quickly. For them, one apartment is 10% of the inventory. One room for an apartment, in a hotel is maybe less than 1%.
Have you had any problems with people that won't leave?
Who won't leave? I hope not.
They pay is okay.
Yeah. No, thankfully not so far. Knock on wood.
It's in the UK, you can...
Yeah, I know, squatters, I know. Yeah, thankfully not.
So how do you get to market your product? Like, how do you get people to even know of it in the first place?
I mean, there's a few ways. I think we put a lot of emphasis on the offline aspects of the offline aspect of the marketing, and I think that goes back to the point I was trying to make before, the fact that it's not just about letting people know about Roomorama, but also making sure that people understand that we are a legitimate, safe, reliable business. People pay all the booking up front, and they rely on us to make sure that when they go to a foreign city, the apartment or the accommodation is in order, it's clean, the host will show up. So the reliability aspect is very, very important for us, and that's where we put most of our resources. But of course, we have a lot of ways to sort of like reach out to travelers in different parts of the world. We tend to focus on those who are traveling in a group, so families, business travelers as well, although the majority of our travelers are leisure ones. There's a variety of channels we tap into to get our traffic. But I think it's very important for us to always focus on the reliability aspect of the business, because that's where the brand of Roomorama can be part of.
I think that's probably going to be the last question, but they'll be here for a little bit in the back if you guys want to ask any more questions. Thank you. Thanks so much.